The newest Kamen Rider has made its worldwide debut, so let's discuss Zeztz Episode 1. Hello everyone, it's thomasjujube, and you heard me correct. Kamen Rider Zeztz has made its worldwide debut, not just premiere episode, as always in Japan, and blah 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 blah. It is currently, or was airing, on the Tokusatsu YouTube channels since the episode came out around a couple hours after it's in Japan. I'll put some exact times on the screen, some exact locations, since I know not all of you are able to watch it on YouTube, which is unfortunate, but I'm bringing this up first thing because this is a pretty big deal, like that they're simulcasting a Kamen Rider season to us on YouTube for free, and I just think it's really cool that we've got our first Kamen Rider season debuting on a worldwide scale. Now, let's talk about the actual show. I did quite enjoy this first episode. I will say it did not blow me away. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I need to see what happens next, but I'm intrigued and I will be watching what happens next. I'm not sure why that is. Like, I think on one hand, it feels like a basic Kamen Rider episode, but on the other hand, there's some elements to this that are very unique, especially compared to recent seasons. So let me get into that, because we start right off with a very fun action sequence. It's really great that we can start off with an action sequence like that with our main character fighting, but he's not a Kamen Rider because he's an agent, or a secret agent. I think that's a really cool thing. I love the credits that they do with the bullet casings and some of the patterns that the bullets create in the walls and like the reflections. It was really incredible. Some beautiful stuff going on with the opening sequence, and I hope we get more of that throughout the show. The other part of that I loved was the later fight scene, or no, not even the later fight scene, the later like build up to the fight scene where he's in the dream world. Baku's in the dream world running from the nightmare, and there's that one sequence where he's in the closet and they're like kind of rotating the camera around, and they're like stitching in different characters, different locations, even though it seems like they probably filmed this mostly in the closet. And it was just really cool because like they're not really doing super over the top sequences to show that it's a dream, at least not all the time. Sometimes they do, but the little stuff they're doing, like when he's running from the nightmare and he's appearing in different locations, like it's just a jump cut and he's in a completely different place. And it's not just a jump cut for us, like in universe he's just appearing in these different spots, and the monsters appearing and just disappearing. Like, it's really nice the way they're editing this to make it feel like you're not in a normal world, you're in a dream world, and also to make the monster creepy too. Like, it definitely worked very well in his favor and in our favor. Of course, we do get some of our over-the-top stuff with the dream stuff as well, which is fine. I mean, I expected that, and I don't mind that. The biggest one is, of course, or the only really instance of it is in the ending fight, where he does like some Doctor Strange movements and he like pulls the floor towards him with the monster on it, and he punches him through like a whole different set of worlds, like dimensions, and that also felt very Doctor Strange too. So I guess they were inspired by Doctor Strange with the fight scenes. I don't know, probably just a coincidence, but still very cool regardless. Other inspirations, which we kind of knew going into this, but it's very overt in this first episode. Like, the agent thing is very James Bond. Like, you can feel that. We kind of felt it from the way he dressed. But then they show us his room this episode, and he's got a bunch of posters and like merchandise which are very James Bond. Like, it just, one of them just looks like a poster from Bond, which is very cool. I like how it's funny how overt they're being with it. Like, they're not like, we could do a little James Bond thing. In the superhero time intro, they literally do the Bond like gun barrel motif. Like, I can't believe they're just, hey, here's our reference. Like, I wonder if they're gonna keep stacking that on. Maybe they'll dial it down a bit, but I don't mind either way. I just think it's kind of fun in this first episode. I've also been saying a lot of other stuff feels very Mission Impossible, because, you know, that's the other big spy franchise, at least to me, and it's the one I prefer. And because that's more of the Western, like, spy stuff, so you kind of figure if they're marketing more to a Western audience, that's the stuff they maybe pull from more. And I definitely felt it in the first action sequence for a few reasons. When Baku's walking, then he gets, like, the voiceover, like, your next mission is, like, that's what Ethan Hunt does, like, at the end of the fourth movie. Like, and, like, they all have, like, the voice giving the mission. I'm pretty sure that's what Zero is supposed to be referencing. Then the actual opening fight scene where he's in a disguise and then he pulls it off to save the victim, Nem. That is what they do in like half of the... There's like two of my favorite Mission Impossible movies have a disguise reveal in the opening sequence. So I was like, hold on guys, this is... And then we have a big ol' action sequence before the title card drops, which they also do in those two Mission Impossible movies. So maybe I'm just seeing connections that are just a fun coincidence, but I'm gonna take it as a fun coincidence, and I thought it was really neat. While I'm speaking of Zero, we know that the bike, which is briefly shown in this episode, is Zero. So they show us a man, and he's Commander Zero. So I'm really intrigued about what's going on with that. That's probably the thing I'm most interested in right now, because all the marketing, everything has shown Zero is the bike. The bike is alive and is the commander of this organization. Now we're shown that it's a man, and we know it'll be a bike. So, like, does he become the bike? The other part of this is that Baku, they said that the room, all of that, was Baku's subconscious. So obviously Code, the organization, has to exist to an extent to be giving him missions for the belt to exist on his person after the dream. Code has to be real to an extent. So to what extent are they real? Like, is Commander Zero a real thing, or is he just imagining it and then it becomes the bike? Like, next episode will be like, I imagine you more of a bike, and then he becomes the bike. I feel like that's something I'm really interested in. I feel like the dream setup is... I'm really curious to see where the dreams go in terms of, like... I guess to what I'm saying is, like, the first fight scene, and it seems like most fight scenes, will be taking place in the dream, which is a really cool setup. But it makes me wonder if eventually, since he has the belt for real, how long until we get a real life fight sequence? How long until the dreams are no longer dreams and he has to fight monsters in the real world and they become public knowledge and stuff like that? And the reason I'm curious about that is because the way they've set up Baku's character, where in the dreams he's dreaming he's a secret agent, so he's a cool, suave, you know, really cool guy. And then in the real world he's jobless, he's kind of a loser, he gets hit by a car when he's trying to save a child. So, like, his heart is in the right place, obviously, but he's not as confident in himself as he is in the dreams, because in the dreams he's imagining he's a character in his favorite movies. And then we see too, like, he's scared of the nightmare, and then he realizes he's in a dream, and then poof, now he has his clothes on and he's more confident. And I thought that was a really interesting part of his character, that, like, he's still in control, but when he's in the dream, he's like, oh, now I'm cool. And he tries to channel that confidence when he's saving the girl, but then, you know, things happen. So when, like, there's some great conversations with his sister where she says, like, save the dreams for bedtime. And, like, I think that's an interesting part of her character too, like, what made her so jaded and less interested in dreams, I guess. And when we eventually start to transform in the real world, how will Baku's character change? Is he going to... I mean, surely he starts off maybe a bit more timid again as Zeztz, because he's like, I'm not in a dream anymore, and then he realizes, like, wait, doesn't matter if I'm in a dream or not, I can still do this. And then he locks in, he's more confident in the real world. I think that would be really cool. I think it's funny that this character is like too classic he's like so many Kamen Rider archetypes at once, because he's pre-established as an agent of this organization. He's a cool badass while he's an agent in the dreams, but in the real world he's a silly, clumsy guy, and he's not a Kamen Rider yet. So it's like 4 things at once, and I think it works really well, and I'm interested to see where his character will go. All of our other main characters are also present in here, which is great. I was wondering if they were going to save some of them for later, like we've kind of been doing recently, but no, they're all here to varying extents of importance. Nem is just here. She's not really a character at all yet, but I am still curious, what extent will she be a character? Because this is just a dream version of her in Baku's dreams. So we don't, and the other things before the show said she would be, she's just in other people's dreams. So far she isn't a character because we haven't met the actual Nem yet. So I am wondering when, if that will happen, and how the show will change with that. The two police characters, I like that they're already involved with nightmares. Like, at least the main detective guy is already aware that nightmares are a thing. He's like, they are real. We are looking for them. And I think it's really great we've got this other side of this whole thing. Like, we have Code, we have Baku, we know about nightmares, but there's people investigating, like real world investigations going into them, which I think is a nice, again, adds into the dream real world like segmentation. And at the end he does see Baku with the belt, so I wonder if he's gonna start working with Baku, if he's just gonna start investigating Baku. At least probably he'll just start investigating him, because Baku makes a weird ass sound. How did he make that sound? I want to know. I'm curious too. Then we have Nox, our main character, who doesn't really do a whole lot in this episode, which is fine. You know, it is very Baku focused, and Baku is our main character, so I'm not upset with any of that. I'm just more curious about what part he's going to be playing, because like we have people straight up disappearing in this episode out of that car, Avengers Infinity War style, and there's that whole thing at the end where he tips over the vase and then there's nothing there. I mean, the vase doesn't fall over. So, like, is he real? Is he only in the dream world and he's, like, affecting the real world with the nightmares? Like, he's straight up the main villain, and we have rumors that he's supposed to be the secondary rider. So I'm just, again, curious, interested to see, will he just be the second rider to appear and he won't be our de facto secondary? Is he going to turn good and there's a greater threat, the nightmares maybe get out of his control? Because, I mean, I was going to say he seems pretty evil here, but he also hasn't really done much. So maybe they'll give him a big sympathetic backstory and now we'll feel okay with this. Maybe someone else will be the secondary and he's just a bad guy Kamen Rider. There's a lot of theories, a lot of things that could be happening. It is just episode 1. So make sure you guys let me know your thoughts on this first episode. I quite enjoyed it. Want to know what you guys think. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I will be doing short reviews for every episode of Zeztz as they come out. And I hope to see you next time.